Guys, there are a lot of older knives out there that get overlooked because they're not new, so they're not getting the traction on channels like you would see. So I went through and I picked out 10 knives that are older. Some of them are pretty old that you need to check out because they're amazing. So let's turn this around and take a look at it from above. All right, guys, you heard me in the intro, 10 knives. We got to get started, and we're going to start with the biggest boy on the block. And it's the Spyderco Military 2. Now, I recently got this, and I have to throw a caveat in here that the Military 2 or the PM2 are kind of interchangeable on this. This is a 25-year-old design. This is about 15 years old. So with it being 25 years old, it's pretty much on the block for a Blade Show Most Innovative Knife Award. Some of you guys will get the humor in this. These things are amazing. This one is in Crewwear and micarta, but this is a heavily modified drop point. It's got a really deep drop to it, nice curvature to it. But these knives cut exceptionally well. Spyderco's, while they are kind of ugly sometimes, really are some of the best all-around knives you're going to get. We love them even though they're ugly. You can see this one gets used a lot. And so this is just a really reliable carry. This one's in Crewwear and micarta, but these are a really, really great cutting blade. These are about 9.5 inches overall. The PM2 and the Military 2 both have the compression lock, which is probably one of the best locks out there. You've got this big aperture on this, the Spidey hole, which allows you to flick, oh, I missed it, sorry. Allows you to flick it open like that. You can also slow roll it. The ergos on these knives are just insane. For as ugly as they are some of the most comfortable knives to cut with. Just the way they fit your hand, the way that their pocket clips sit in hand, some of the best pocket clips. But then you, with this aperture, this Spidey hole, you want to put this camel's hump on the back that then they put jimping on, which gives you this super secure grip, especially when you look the fact that they've got this jimping in here and you're pinched in that. You've got such a secure grip on that. The grind on it is consistent, this full flat, nice distal taper for piercing. So you've got a really piercing blade, but also a very good cutting blade. This is probably the best Spyderco I've ever owned. This one still has the factory edge on it, if you can believe that. Crewwear is an incredible material, but they have really gotten better at what they're doing over there. Their heat treats over the years, I should say, their heat treats absolutely have started to catch up. The way they construct their knives is almost always 100% fine. There's options that you can get for accessories and things like that. So there you go. Spyderco Military 2 or the PM2, either one. Great, great choices for everyone. Let's move on to the next one. And it's one of my favorite knives of all time, the Ferrum Forge Fortis. Now, if you can find one of the in-house builds, of this 200-piece run, these are probably the best option. But the nice thing is, the boys over Ferrum Forge have done this knife as a production version, as the 2.0, and I do believe there was a 3.0 of this knife, but these were just amazing. The Archbishop had this nice gentle drop point, but broad blade. These ones were in 20 CV and titanium. Great, great pocket clip. They were a frame lock. This is one of the first knives I ever got that had the aperture for reverse flick on it, but these were rock solid. Flipper tab on it is great. Elliot designed all of his knives to have a flipper tab that you could open a beer bottle with without a bottle opener. The in-house builds are always gorgeous, even the ones that aren't as elaborate as this one. This was a one-off. It's all textured and then anodized. They used on these an actual ceramic coating instead of Cerakote or PVD, and it has held up exceptionally well. But the production versions of this knife are almost as good. And I mean, for some people, they're even better. They're not as expensive and things like that. But these knives just were a very utilitarian knife. Super comfortable in hand. Big forward finger choil with that flipper tab acting as a guard, but then you could pull back on it and really hold on to it. Nice thick blade stock on this, but a flat grind on this that comes down nice and thin behind the edge. So you've got the best of both worlds. You got a nice thick blade stock for stability and strength, but then a nice decent behind the edge thickness. The frame lock on them were really done well. These ones have a rolling detent in their in the steel lock bar insert. And they just were amazing. There was a built-in over travel. These were great, great knives. And I just don't know why they've gotten missed over the years. So if you can find one of the originals, absolutely recommend it. If you can't, one of the production ones are every bit as good. So there you go. Ferrum Forge Archbishop. So this next knife is a little bit newer. I got this a couple years ago for Christmas, a year or two ago. This is the Begleiter XL by Kaiser, and I love this knife. The original Begleiter was nice. The Mini was a little bit better, but then when they came out with this XL version, it's just incredible. Micarta steel liners, S35V, or I'm sorry, 154 CM blade on this. It's done in a button lock, but the button lock on it is good enough that you've got detent that you can flip. Thumb studs. This thing just feels so good in hand. Reversible pocket clip on this that is deep carry on a big knife like this means you can carry this in a lot of scenarios. The button lock on this was just incredible. This one is done in micarta. There were different versions of this knife that you can find, but I love this orange or brown. I think it was listed as orange micarta, but it is just absolutely gorgeous. Feels really good in hand. And then you've got this button lock. Now this one was through White Mountain Knives. It was a White Mountain Knives exclusive. It came with an extra button. But then you've got this blade that is, you can see I use my knives. It's all scratched up. Really functional. Takes a good edge. And if you're looking for a really nice work knife that's going to hold up, nice big blade, easy to hold. This choil area here just gives you so much control. And then it's got a very unique looking flipper tab that just looks cool. And with this geometric shape, angular shapes on that, it just fits in with the shape of the scales. Absolutely love this knife. They did a lot of weight reduction, so it's not too heavy, but you're looking at, I mean, a 9 1/4, 9.5 inch overall knife that just feels really good. This does not suffer from that problem a lot of knives do. It does not feel out of sorts, even though it's a longer blade. It's like a 9-inch knife. It's a little bit longer. You don't feel like you're too far removed. You've got jimping up here for control. You can get up on it like this and use that as a finger choil if you want. But like I said, just really well thought out. Great blade. And the execution by Kaiser is just great. So let's move on to the next knife. And it's another one of the more newer knives, but it's been around for a while. This is the QSP Kestrel in 14C28N. This thing is absolutely the best small knife I've had in a long time. Now, this was originally Jared over at Neves Knives knife. He gave this to me. He told me I could keep it. I absolutely love this knife. You don't feel like you're giving up anything with this knife, even though it's smaller. I mean, this is, you're looking at 7 inches, under 7 inches overall, 6 1/4. This thing cuts really, really well. You've got a very well evenly distributed blade. You got a lot of flat, a little bit of belly. It's got this beautiful clip point. It is a flipper liner lock with thumb studs and a flipper. And then you've got on this particular one, these gorgeous, coarse micarta handles. You're going to find a lot of knives that I gravitate to have micarta. Beautifully done. I'm usually not a fan of these speed holes, but the fact is all these holes on this, you can then use one of these as a lanyard hole if you want. It is absolutely one of the coolest knives. And like I said, even though it's a smaller knife, I don't feel like I'm giving anything up. I have a full 4-finger grip on this because of the way it curves up and gets you up in here. Really good access to lock bar. Action on this is all just shy of drop shut. If I cleaned this up, it would be drop shut. But like I said, ambidextrous because you've got, I mean, you can't really flip the pocket clip, but it is ambidextrous because you've got double thumb studs on it. It's just a great, great knife all around. I find this finding its way into my pocket more times than I can count. It's 14C28 great, great steel. But like I said, when you get this in hand, you're like, wow, this knife was meant to be used. And it gets a lot of hard use. So if you can find one of these QSP Kestrels, they're not that hard to find. You can use a lot of my affiliate links down below. I've got links with QSP and stuff like that. You can find all this stuff. So there you go, QSP Kestrel. So let's move on to the next one. Come on, guys. You didn't think I would leave this one out. This is a knife everybody should try to own once. I do know it's a little bit more expensive. This is a Chris Reeve Sabenza. Now, mine is a large 21. It's done S35 VN titanium. I did refinish this. This is just absolutely an iconic knife, and it is incredible how good it is. Nice hollow on this so that you've got a knife that is going to stay usable for a long time. It's easy to sharpen. It's got a beautiful finish on it. This is the iconic folding knife, and just like, you just can't, there's a feel to a Sabenza that just doesn't feel like any other knife. Super comfortable in hand. This is a frame lock. Nice pocket clip on this. One of the best pocket clips on the market. Hands down is I think this is my favorite pocket clip of all time. Spydercos are up there, but this just really is an amazing pocket clip. Really nicely done. The cutouts for this on the inside, so you don't have any hot spots. Great access to the lock bar. The smoothness of this, and this is not even clean. Like, I haven't taken apart. This is great. You've got good jimping here in hand. Beautiful blade on this where you've got a lot of flat, a little bit of belly. It's going to meet all your demands. Nicely crowned spine. Just, this thing just screams to its level of quality. All of the screws are the same. You only need one tool to take it apart. You don't have to like worry about tightening anything down. You just tighten it down till it goes. They were some of the best thought out knives. They are still some of the best knives still made in the United States, in Idaho. I just can't say enough about how much this particular knife has done for the knife industry. There are so many companies that have set out to try to emulate this knife. And while they don't come close sometimes, they definitely wind up being better. This thing is just the epitome of a folding work knife. And the fact that this knife, other people emulating it, has made the knife industry better means that this is just one of those historical knives everyone should try to own. So there you go. The Chrysler Sebenza, absolutely a beast. An awesome, awesome knife. And I think you guys knew that this was going to be in the video too. This is the Reate Horizon D. Mine is in carbon fiber and titanium. I did re-anodize all of this, but this thing is, I still think this is the best production knife I've ever owned. When it hits all those bells and whistles, the flipper tab on it is perfect. The weight distribution is great. This one is done in M390, titanium and carbon fiber. This was the first run of these that was ever done, the carbon fiber and titanium. This was the first run of these. I got mine in 2014 or 15. This thing is gorgeous. There are so many cool lines on this knife, but it's not just the looks of the knife. This thing is superb in all functions. It is super comfortable. The blade is just about that perfect mix of thickness and thinness behind the edge. The steel heat treat on it was beautiful. You've got such a good grip on this. It falls into the cut gorgeous. It's got this big fuller on it that just adds to the looks. You can reverse flick off the fuller. The milling on the titanium and the carbon fiber were just insanely good. But like I said, when it comes down to having a knife that you can use, this is one of the most comfortable knives to carry and cut with you're ever going to find. I absolutely have loved this since the day it showed up in like 2015 until now. It still spends a lot of time in my pocket. You can't go wrong with ones. I've seen the newer ones that Dave is doing over at Reate, and they are every bit as good as this, if not better. But they just have historically, Reate, from coming out the block, have given you one of the best knives you're ever going to own. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous showing. And still, listen to this sound it makes. Man, it sounds good, feels good. This is just all around one of my favorite knives ever. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And it's another Spyderco. It's the Spyderco Endura, which the Spyderco Endura series, so you've got the Spyderco Endura, the Delica, the Indela, and technically, if you really want to look at it, the Matriarch 2 and the Police model. They're all kind of in the same family. These were released in 1990, and the Endura has been one of the best knives that Spyderco does for years. This thing is a beautifully functional blade. This has been one of my favorite knives for a very, very long time. This one's done in CDP 189 and the FRN, but they've had these rocker locks with these Boyd dents on them since I was a kid. These have not changed that much. 1990, I graduated high school and joined the Navy in 92. So that should tell you, these have been around for a while. So yeah, these things were great. The blades were done in a full flat grind. You can get saber ground ones that are done with steel handles, but these FRN and full flat grind ones have been the ones that have been the most popular. They come in a lot of different steels, a lot of different variants, but this blade is just straight enough to meet all of your tasks, but still radiused enough to do a lot of the stuff you would want where you want belly. They're the most ergonomic knives I've ever owned have been the Delica series. I'm sorry, the Endura series. I mean, the Spyderco military is pretty comfortable, but this even better. These things are incredible. Great, great work knives. They hold up really well. They're not something that you have to worry about ruining the finish because you got nylon, fiberglass reinforced nylon. They do have the same grip on the, the same grip on the back here with the jimping because of the Spidey hole, giving you that big camel's hump. They are not an aggressive, like, fighting knife style, but they also are not something that they're not something you couldn't use for self-defense if you needed to. And like, they align themselves with the cut so well. The Spyderco Endura series has really stood the test of time, and rightly so. They are ambidextrous. They're just a great all-around knife, and I love them. I really do, as ugly as they are. So let's move on to the next knife. And this one's a much newer knife, but still a knife that has been around for a little bit. This is the Petrified Fish Havrog. And I actually had to buy this knife because Jared sent me one and I liked it so much that I bought my own. Really impressed me. You got the micarta handles, which are great. Micarta backspacer and micarta thumb studs. This thing, beautiful. Reverse flick off the thumb studs. It's got this really unique, aggressive look to it, but yet it's still really functional. Nice full flat grind on this. These are done in K110 steel, and they're just beautiful. It's got this really aggressive drop to the blade, and the handles are so comfortable to cut with. Beautiful pocket clip. Now, it is not ambidextrous because you can see it's like got that curve to it. If the pocket clip, you would have to have two separate pocket clips. But these lines that look really cool, they're not just there for show. They actually give you some tactility in the grip, and the contour of the handles, even though it's not completely radiused, it drops down here and here from that center line, which means it feels really comfortable in hand. You can get all the way up on it without a full finger choil. You can get up on it, and then it's just got this really cool grind termination to it. And I have to say, this was one of the sharpest knives out of the box that I got. The action on it just drops shut. You can reverse flick off the thumb studs. It does not have a flipper, but you really don't need it when you've got those really good thumb studs on it. And then, like I said, access to the lock bar is just about perfect. They did just enough weight reduction in this to give it that neutral balance that I really love in a knife, and it cuts very well. I'm really glad I got one of these. The Petrified Fish stuff has always been good. Like, everything that has come in, I have enjoyed having here, and this is no exception. So a newer knife, but still something that you probably saw a while ago. So let's move on to the next knife, which is a good bit older. And it's the WE Knife 601. The WE 601 was the very first WE knife I ever got, and it is still one of the coolest knives I owned. So the thing that makes this really cool and unique is it's got this distinctive grind to it, which kind of makes it like a modern version of the Japanese Tonto. So they accomplished it just by grinding it. So this edge comes down and it's the same consistent angle. So instead of this knife tapering like some of the others we've talked about distal taper in other videos, this absolutely just has that material removal done here. And it's a striking knife. Super sharp. The edge is incredible, even though that's ground kind of strange, but it feels like a fighting knife. It really does. This has the feel of like a combat knife, the way it aligns with the cut, the way it feels in hand. It's done in a frame lock, and this was the first knife the second knife I ever got that had a multi-row bearing system. So while it's not like drop shut, when you release it, it just flies open. It's weird. Like, the friction was weird. It's got a unique pocket clip. The overall lines of the knife are definitely futuristic, but it's still really functional. I've carried this knife a lot over the years, and I just can't get past how cool this knife is. And I do believe they re-released the 601, but there's other knives that WE Knife Company made that were of the same overall shape but did not have this unique grind. This is what makes this knife so cool, is that grind. I absolutely love it. You can't go wrong with it. It's an incredible knife if you can find one. Mine still is old enough still that it has proprietary hardware on this. But yeah, just a lot of fun. Just one of those amazing knives that come out and you're glad you get one when you do. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one, which is a newer knife. And it's the Max Ace Meerkat M. So this is a newer knife, but it has been out for a little bit. I saw the first review on this maybe a year ago. I've had this one for a while. Jared sent me one for review, but this thing is insane. I like the Max 8 knives, and this is one that just is a great all-around smaller knife, but accomplishes big boy tasks. It's not a real big knife, but it definitely holds up to knives that are much larger than this. It's got this beautiful blade. This one's done in M390. It's got this beautiful blade that has this swept thumb ramp in it that makes it really, really comfortable. The grip on it here is amazing. You've got this finger spot here, then you've got no real choil, a little sharpening choil, but the way the handles are built, you can choke up on it right here, and it just feels amazing. Even when I'm back here and I've only got like a 3-finger grip, it's still really comfortable. You can get up on it like this. This would be a knife that a lot of people would carry, that they could use for hunting and still be able to skin an animal with and have this as a smaller hunting knife, because it's got a lot of belly up here and you can get up on it and use this and maintain that grip. You just kind of get yourself in that pinch. Really good knife. It is reverse flick only, or slow roll. I mean, you can slow roll it, but you can slow roll it off and you can reverse flick it. The cool thing that I find, the unique thing, is it's got a nested liner lock, but the screws that hold it in place are here. It's not like there's a full liner in there. It's just, it's like a sub liner lock almost, but the action on this is so smooth. For a small knife that it doesn't have a lot of weight to the blade, the action on it is just incredibly smooth. And then they did it in white G10, which just makes it look amazing. And if you carry it in your jeans, in the watch pocket, it starts to pick up that blue hue from the indigo in the denim, and it just starts to look insanely good. And then you can always wash that off. So just an incredible knife from Max Ace. There you go, guys. That was a lot of fun. We're going to turn this around. We'll do some final thoughts and send you all out about your day, because this has been a long video. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, guys, a lot of times these knives, once they get their first couple videos that are out there, you never see them again. And it's really a shame, because there's some really good knives out there that do have a following, but they just don't get seen on YouTube. So that's one of the things I like to do on this channel. So not to make this any longer, ton of affiliate links down below. You can support the channel that way. All of them support the channel, but don't cost you anything at checkout. The Amazon store works the same. Use that for all your Amazon shopping. Pin it to your browser. 2 of the links down below, Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail, have a 10% discount built into them. Coffee Brand Coffee, money back guarantee. Some of the best coffee you're gonna get, roasted on demand, sent to your door. And they've got some really good flavored ones if you're into it. K-cups and all that. Tempered Trail, some of the toughest shoelaces you're ever gonna find, hand stitched wallets, things like that. And I have a coupon code of crazysharp, all one word, that works at Fair & Forged Knife Works, KATSU Knives, and Rosecraft Blades. Save you 10% across the board there. Guys, I also have a membership if you want to check that out. But that's it on this one, guys. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. I'll see you in the next video.